this is Christopher Bruza. Welcome back. Today we're here with another hunting rifle of mine. This is a Ruger American in 6mm Creedmoor, fitted with a SWFA Super Sniper 3-9x42 HD scope. It rides in an MPI Composites stock, which is what makes this rifle unique. And I have a Sig Sauer SRD 762 Ti-QD suppressor for it, and it's not on the rifle because it doesn't fit in the frame. So I hunted with this rifle quite a bit, and I like it. Up until the .338 Federal, this was my only short-action hunting rifle, and it's the smallest cartridge I've ever taken a deer with. It worked absolutely great. I don't have pictures of the doe, but the buck I shot was not large, but it filled the freezer, and I clipped the bottom of the heart. He ran about 15-20 yards and just killed over. There was a great blood trail. He was bleeding. I shot him from about 80 yards, 85 yards, and from that distance with the naked eye I could see blood pouring out of his chest cavity, which is the only time I've ever seen that. But as with these rifle tours, we start at the butt, work our way forward, and I discuss the rifle, why it's configured that way, and what I like or don't like. So down here we have my preferred Pachmayr recoil pad. Just your standard Pachmayr. It has a 13 5/8 inch length of pull. I requested a 13.5 inch. It came in 13 5/8. I'm not going to complain. I don't think I could feel the difference on a hunting rifle. So you have that there. My traditional tried tactical stock pack, which gets my cheek weld good, so I can pull this up, my eyes closed, shoulder the rifle, open my eyes. I'm looking directly through the scope with no scope shadow. I guess we'll discuss the stock. MPI does not make stocks for the Ruger American. It's a small company, and I believe they're all hand-built. It's generally thought of as a company that makes lightweight mountain-style stocks. This is the classic model, and it feels spectacular. The forend is not super skinny, but it's not a big stock, and there's not a lot of material around the action, where the barrel tapers down is where you get more material, but I would say it's smaller than a Macmillan Classic. MPI makes a lot of stocks for like the Kimber rifles and guns like that. If you haven't heard of them, I wouldn't be surprised. But I saw on the 24-hour campfire that a gentleman who owns Extreme Rifle Works, he was in Texas. I wanted to send another Ruger to him to do a stock, and he was in the process of moving, and I don't remember where he was moving to. I'm sure Google can turn that up. It's Extreme Rifle Works. So what he was doing at the time, and I would hope is still doing, is I sent the rifle to him with the plastic Ruger stock. Effectively, he cut the bedding area and trigger guard out of the Ruger stock, machined the MPI stock, and bonded the Ruger stock into the MPI fiberglass stock. I haven't seen anybody else doing this since, and since then, like BNC started offering them Boyds, and this was right when the Ruger American first came out, and it's you would not tell that this is a cobbled together a stock, and it works great. The rifle's very accurate. Sub MOA. I don't think I have a target to show you, but in future videos we will shoot this because I have the first project for this channel coming up, which is also going to be a 6mm Creedmoor, and we will be doing a comparison video. So this will be shot at the range, and we'll see how accurate it is. But the MPI stock is what makes this rifle special, at least to me. You aren't going to see anybody else out there with this. Extreme Rifle Works will do them with MPI, they do them with Macmillan. Basically any stock that's wide enough, that leaves enough material to do that. So it's flawless. Looking at it, you aren't going to see anything. The only odd part, and this is the MPI stock, not Extreme Rifle Works work. You see it cuts up here in the belly. Being that the internal section is still the Ruger part, it uses the Ruger magazine. And the release right here normally sticks out quite a bit more. And when you seated it, the first thing your hand hit was the release. So I cut that down and with a Dremel, and then I just kind of dremeled in a little tab that helps your finger. And it seems to fit the stock better. A normal magazine works, no issues. I just found myself when I was carrying it, hitting it and releasing the magazine. The finish on the stock is done by Extreme Rifle Works. You know, they did a lot of work to it, so obviously it's all sanded and fiberglassed up. He asked what sort of camo pattern I wanted. It didn't matter as long as it was kind of tan, brown, green, whatever. This is how it came. It's not my favorite. I could easily repaint it, but I don't dislike it enough to have to repaint it. I obviously prefer more of like a Macmillan or Manners Forest camo style, but this works. And actually the areas I'm hunting in the fall in North Carolina, these colors work great. Someday I'll probably get the barreled action Cerakoted. Anyway, moving up, we have a Timney trigger. This is the single stage Timney Ruger American trigger, set at 2 pounds, which I feel comfortable hunting with. Others might think it's too light. I'm used to lighter triggers on my competition rifles, and this works well, even with gloves on, which I always shoot with gloves, but works great. So you got your Timney trigger here. I've hunted with this thing in the rain, sleet. One day it was sleeting, and I've had no issues with the trigger malfunctioning, anything like that. You have a stock bolt, no changes there, and I like the Ruger American has the has a side bolt release, but it has a very nice bolt handle, which I really like. You can change these out. I feel no need. I would almost be tempted to change to this bolt handle. Has a nice sweep curve to it. It's great with gloved hands. It works exceptionally well. No modifications to the action or barrel. So it's stock as you see it. I'm not going to go much over that. So coming up, we have a Night Force Picatinny rail. On the Ruger American, I love these Night Force rails. They're aluminum. It's 20 MOA, and it has a scallop down the middle, which gives you slightly more clearance for the eyepiece of your scope or magnification ring, which sometimes can limit how far forward the scope goes. And running a 13, I guess in this case 13 5/8 inch length of pole, as opposed to the more classically standard 14-inch, it allows me to get my scope forward to the correct position. So mounted to that are Badger Ordnance steel rings. I have a bunch of these, and generally I like to match. If I have an aluminum base, I want aluminum rings. In this case, it didn't work out that way. I think I still have like 5 or 6 unused pairs of these in 30mm 823 thousandths tall to the center line. That's above the top plane of the rail. So these are steel Badger rings. I've had no issues with them. They work great. I have never had any issue with any Badger Ordnance product in general. They aren't the greatest thing on earth. It's not Spur or something like that, but they're exceptionally good products. Mounted in these rings is an SWFA Super Sniper 3-9 by 42 first focal plane scope. It has 1/10 of a mil adjustments and a mil quad reticle. They advertise as a 3-9. It's really a 4-9 scope. It's an exceptional scope for the money. Sub $1,000, I don't think, in my opinion, you can get a much better scope for hunting than this. But below 4 power, it tends to tunnel a little bit, as a lot of scopes do. So generally, I'm hunting with this on 4 power. 3, yes, the image size shrinks, but then you get a black border to your image. I have a zero stop, and you can actually search YouTube for SWFA zero stop, and you'll find some videos on it. In those, there's a link to buy the little plastic washers that you put in these scopes. You send money to a PayPal address, and miraculously you get the washers in your mailbox a week or two later. So we have that. The windage does not have a zero stop, and a lot of people, I mean, this would be a killer scope if it had a capped windage turret. A lot of people tape these, and you'll see some that actually remove the knob, and you can go to a hardware store and get like a pipe cap, a rubber pipe cap, and stick it over there so it doesn't, you don't knock this. For my uses, it's absolutely fine. You just, when I get in my stand, hunting position, ground blind, whatever, just look, make sure it's on zero, and there's no issue. The reticle adjustments are dead on. SWFA makes very good scopes for the price. And the glass, actually, if you notice the picture I posted with the deer, I was running a Night Force NXS compact 2.5 to 10. Great scope. The glass, in my opinion, is on par with the Night Force. The reason I changed it, the last day of hunting season, I was up in my stand, and it's very rare for me to see deer that late in the year. Sun was going down, and a doe to my right came out of the field. She went through a very dense area out into a field where there was like a clearing in the grass of about 10 feet. I saw her dart across it. She was running, and I mean, a lot of hunting pressure over the previous months, and she was running, and she came up and started heading towards me, close to where I shot the buck with this rifle. And I was getting glimpses of her between the trees. There were probably 15-20 foot clearings between them. It was a selective cut to thin out the trees, but still allow room to shoot deer. And I had been shooting a lot of competition with moving targets like at VIR. They have a nice mover at the VIR competitions, and I felt confident shooting at a moving target. So I took the, like a 1mm lead, shot at her, missed, couldn't see where it went. Figured I shot in front of her and took a 0.6 half-mil lead, missed. Then took another shot, 0.3mm lead, missed. I could not believe it. And I went checked for blood. I did not hit that deer. And looked down at my scope. It was set on 2.5 power. The NXS Compact is a second focal plane scope. And that was the only second focal plane that I owned at the time. That was the only second focal plane. I'm used to shooting first focal plane, so if I'm at 2.5 power, it doesn't matter where it is. If I hold 1mm on the reticle, I'm holding 1mm. And that incident was enough to get me to sell. At the time I had 3 of those NXS compacts. Take that back. I still have one on an AR, which is second focal plane. Regardless, I sold that scope. And from now on, it's only first focal planes hunting for me. Granted, that was my fault. So my 1mm hold, that wasn't a 1mm hold. That was a 1mm hold at 10 power. You aren't going to shoot a running deer at 10 power at 75, 80, 90 yards. I was really taking a 4mm hold because I was down on 2.5 power, and that's not something I care to do again. And I am so accustomed to first focal plane. That's what I'm running, and totally my fault. I guess you live and learn, so who knows. The bipod is just for show, to hold the air for the video. The sling, this is more of what I run on my tactical rifles. It's a tap gear sling. I really like it. It has an additional piece I took off for the video just because it's too long. Goes in between this, and I actually really like the way this disconnects when you're in a tree stand, because I'm not going to just hold on to a rifle in a tree stand. I want it attached to me. I've never dropped one, or sort of dropped one, but I want it attached to me. I do not want a loaded rifle falling out of a tree stand and taking a 15 to 30 foot impact. Who knows where that muzzle will be pointing and whether it will go off. Drop testing is nowhere near that high. Granted, it's, you're just going to be falling on pine needles, something along those lines. Not going to risk it. My rifles all get strapped to me when I'm in a tree, and this sling makes it very easy to do. I like the adjustability of the Latigo slings you see on most of my other hunting rifles, but this one works on here. The barrel on this is 22 inches long, and I would love to cut it down a bit, but with a 6mm you lose a ton of velocity as you cut them down. I'm shooting a 105 grain Nosler ballistic tip, which did its job extremely well with the 2 deer I harvested with it, but I don't know the velocity offhand, but it should be in the 2,900 plus feet per second range. Nobody wants to be shooting a 6mm at 2,700 feet per second. That's not the purpose of 6mm. So right now it's 22 inches. I don't see any real reason to go down to 21. ideally, I mean, 18 would be great with a suppressor. So I guess that brings us to the suppressor. It's not used for recoil reduction, but it's used for noise suppression during hunting. I don't hunt with earplugs. Maybe you should. I guess you should. I don't. So I prefer to use suppressors when hunting. And this is one of the few I own that has a QD mount. I'm not a big fan of SIG suppressors. I mean, it works fine. I haven't put enough rounds through it to really put it through its paces and be able to recommend it. But when they were changing the NFA requirements, there was a frenzy on buying suppressors, and that's actually when I bought this one. And I'm not a huge fan of SIG in general, other than their handguns. I love their handguns. The Legion series, the P229 is one of my favorite handguns I have. P226 Legion, great gun. A bit wary of their optics and things like that. This suppressor seems to be reasonable, and it comes with a very funny looking muzzle brake. The concept behind this muzzle brake is you don't need to have the barrel timed and you don't need to use shims. So the alignment portion, you'll see this funky little one port brake on the very end, and there's a brake line here you can see. So the alignment portion, this taper is what aligns the suppressor. This brake section does not contact the suppressor in any way, and there's actually a crush washer inside of there. So you torque this down and it's rock setted on. And then, I mean, you could shoot it without this brake portion and it function absolutely the same. You just tighten this down with a crush washer, and I guess if you shoot without the suppressor, it times it correctly, but it's an easy solution. And these brakes, they sell really cheap. The other suppressor I have that's a quick detach is, I think the Mac Brothers is the only other one. And that one, the brakes are, $120, something like that. You have to have them timed or use shims, and I don't know, these are like 40, 50 bucks. And there was a time when I had 5 Ruger Americans, and I had them all set up with these brakes on them, and just shared suppressors. 308 caliber suppressor. I don't have any issues running a 6mm through it. I'm not sure why you would limit yourself buying a 6.5mm suppressor, something along those lines. This works great. It's very quiet, and it just turns on, and then you heard it click. You tighten it down, and there's this little locking tab that you push to release it, but you can see there's a bit of movement before you actually hit the locking tab, so it can rotate that much. I always make sure it's tight and it's never loosened up on me. I've probably shot 50, 60 shots in a row while letting the barrel and suppressor cool at the range. It's never loosened up on me. If anything, it builds up carbon and kind of gets hard to remove. But to remove it, you just kind of turn it till it stops and push in the detent until it passes and it comes off. It's this little notch right here that the detent locks on. Simple solution, works fine. I have a heat mirage cover for it from Armageddon Gear. Hunting, I usually don't carry it because on 4-power, with the suppressor on, with this scope and the scope height, I don't see the suppressor. When I put the Mirage cover on, I do see the cover. It wouldn't interfere with shooting, but I mean, hunting, with the story I told, I took 4 shots, 3 shots, something like that. Generally with hunting, you sure as hell aren't going to take more than that, but it's very, very, very rare, and that was not one of my proudest days. So, keep an eye on the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. I really appreciate anybody watching these videos, and until next time, enjoy.